very much for your presentation. I was about to ask, you were talking about culture a lot. Maybe you can explain in your own words, what does culture mean for you? Because the word itself has so many definitions, and I think it would be easier for everybody to understand your thoughts when it comes to this term.
Culture relates to the idea of the artifact. Culture needs artifacts. Artifacts are not nature. Artifacts are buildings, are works of art of any kind, like statues, paintings. And culture also needs community and the communication between different human beings in a meaningful way. Meaningful means in a not hostile way. And culture is related to the existence of the city.
So it's the artifacts that kind of tie everybody together in this kind of story-based objects that give us certain ideas we can share.
It gives us certain ideas, and this relates to the idea of the scenery, of the scenario. Culture in terms of artifacts, for instance, as architectural artifacts. The culture provides a frame where humans can live, and living means more than just existing. Living means to have a meaningful life, fulfilled life, to really communicate, to really aspirate living in culture, in a city, for instance. And this frame is an important, essential element. And this frame is by its nature, eo ipso, it's an artifact.
Do you have, how has this started that you have these artifacts that are not from nature, or maybe different other artifacts that nature has produced for humans, or is it only possible for us to make these artifacts?
It is possible only for us. This is it's laid down in the very etymology, in the origin of the word. An artifact comes from Latin ars. Ars is art. And art is something artificial, is something made. It's not grown. The opposite idea of the art is nature as physis. This is the Greek concept of nature. Like here, these plants, for instance, in the image behind us. Physis is that power that grows out of itself, out of its own capabilities, opposed to an artifact. An artifact I have to make, and then an artifact can exist. Physis is like a plant. A plant is growing out of itself, out of its own powers. It does not need an artist making a plant. A plant can just grow. And this is especially in our Western Occidental culture, this led later on to this opposition between nature and culture. So this is, in the end, it's physis versus artifacts.
In the beginning of the presentation, you were talking about public spaces and how these public spaces are rather important, or that we are losing these public spaces to transit spaces. What does a public space? What does make it so important for you? Is it like just being seen, or is it the artifacts?
It composes both of the aspects you mentioned, but it is more than that. Public space essentially is a place, and this again recurs to an old distinction inherent to our Western culture, this is the distinction between place as a topos. The topos is a specific space recognizable as an individuality. The topos has a history, is a place of identity and a place of belonging. If we can go to this place
Yeah, I was referring to that picture.
here we have it. Here we have a topos. Of course it is an artifact, but you see also the frame character. Many people can live here, meet here, speak here, just walk through, or sell goods or not. They are living here. This topos is specific. There is no such place like this one place in this kind of city. Here, in our case, of an Italian city, the capital of Siena. And this is the place. And this refers to this idea of the topos, place of belonging, of identity, and therefore the topos needs an individuality. And individuality is more than just the formal distinction of a place as this is an individual place. Of course, also in an airport there are individual places, formal terminals, but no top like this. And the other concept of space is it's originating to a Roman concept. This is the spazio. Just look at the next here at the airport. The spazio is a geometric space. It is homogeneous. There's no individual elements serving as a topos. It's a place laid out on the ground. It's an abstract space.
Made in labyrinth than anything else.
No, like a grid. Like a grid. This is a straight geometrical order of ideal homogeneous qualities, and this is laid out on the existing. This is
Okay. So referring back to the other picture, the piazza.
Here the campo in Siena.
Exactly. Would you describe this as an ideal space, or what is, if not, what is missing?
There's nothing missing. This is in terms of a natural city for humans. You have everything you need of being a true human being. You can meet people, you can walk around, you can just look around, watching the other people. There's missing just nothing, and it is not even an ideal space in the utopian sense. The meaning of the ideal space in general is twofold. On the one hand, an ideal space denotes, in the conventional terms, an ideal, perfected space. For instance, an utopian space. On the other hand, an ideal space is just an imagined space, also in terms of the social imagination, in which spaces we want to live. And in this case, they have been realized by the Sienese government in the medieval ages already, such a space. A concept had become reality. A communal place for human beings, also the concept of the ideal space for human beings has been realized in 1200 anyway. And it was a deliberate plan. It looks only a bit chaotic, but it was planned. The height of the building was planned, the arcades were planned, and everything.
But to kind of visualize this chain of thought, if I were to go to this place and I would say it's rather nice, I feel nice, but looking at it, maybe I feel better with trees, and then I start evoking this or having like that somehow I feel maybe some trees would be really nice here. Would you say this is already like this ideal starting to form in my thoughts? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point. This is about the forming of ideals. The idea of the tree is a modern idea.
Yeah.
This is from the 18th century onwards, and first of all in the 19th
Art
and 20th.
Nouveau and all
exactly.
these arts movements from Japan. Japan?
Because they lived in cities in the West. The human beings lived in cities which had no trees, and this was also the idea of the public park in the city. When nature is outside of the city, when there is no longer a synoikea, we have to create a public park, at least as a remnant of nature, a civilized, artificial nature of the park. Or, as in the recent discussion of the Green City, they have to introduce nature into the city, which is no bad thing in itself. But as said, we have to consider that a natural city for human beings always is both nature and culture.
You were talking about public spaces in real life. Nowadays, there's more and more internet-based or digital public spaces. Have you any references with these kind of spaces as ideal spaces or as utopian spaces?
It's a good point. The reference is the internet spaces. There's several remarks, necessary remarks. First of all, the internet space is no space. It's no mean space. It is just a system space of algorithms. The next point is, which is no bad thing. It is as it is, and the next point is the internet space as a system space, abstract space of algorithm. This is the ideal of the spatium. Here we have it in its purest form. We do not need any physical concrete space anymore. We just rely on the construction of the space, which had begun with the Gothic cathedral and ended up with the internet.
Okay.
And the second point is in the digital spaces as regards social media. These are places, let's say places of refuge. If I have no real physical public places in cities any longer, plus if there is the assistance, the technological assistance making it possible to go into these virtual system spaces, I can at least temporarily join other communities. But, third remark, these communities are no true human communities. They are no true communities. They are just groupings of people varying over time. This is no real community. This is just an agglomeration of people varying over time. This is no community. This is just I the individual can select, like as I select what I can consume and what not. I can select in which groupings in the social media I will join for how long. And this is in terms of the history of ideas in this unformed known addressed in the presentation. This is the very same unformed known as it exists in the consumer society of today in general. The individual is a consuming entity, means a solitaire, who in fact, so the ideal of this kind of human being, who in fact could live alone by himself.
It's interesting that you say this, the solitude. There is a growing group in Japan. They are called hikikomori, and they stay at home all day due to social anxieties, maybe because of what you were talking about, the modernization and the being forced to be a consumer. But this group of people that maybe suffer under social anxiety, for them this digital space offers a kind of a different way. What would you tell these people, the people that don't want to be in public spaces or feel very anxious very quickly in these kind of spaces? What do you think about that in perspective of the digital communities?
That's my recommendation would be try to meet yourself in person with other entrepreneurs, at least at certain places. Start to communicate. The second thing is you could create your own public place, at least in the internet trial. For instance, generate as a virtual world a public place. This is a contradiction to what I said before. No, but taking this extreme group of people, extreme in terms of reaction towards the modern recent condition of a civilized cities. This would be my complete proposal.
Yeah, it does say a lot about what you think of a public space, and
they can create their own spaces and places. It is possible.
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Okay, thank you very much for your questions.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay.